There's a suspicious black male, tall, dark clothing, going door to door with equipment. No, but he looks suspicious. I don't know. He's trespassing. Probably casing homes, maybe planning to rob.
It started with a phone call. 9:23 a.m., a summer morning so hot the air shimmered above the rooftops. A woman's voice trembled over the 911 line, claiming a suspicious black male was wandering her neighborhood with equipment, possibly scouting homes to rob. But that suspicious man wasn't a criminal. He was a 15-year-old boy named Jordan Wright, pushing an old lawnmower, trying to earn a few dollars to help his mom pay the bills. What happened next would expose more than just one neighbor's prejudice. It would reveal how fear, stereotypes, and silence still shape America's daily life in the 21st century. Before we go further, ask yourself, have you ever seen someone judged before you even knew their name? Jordan Wright wasn't doing anything remarkable, at least not at first glance. While other teens spent the summer sleeping till noon or scrolling TikTok, Jordan was knocking on doors with a hand-drawn flyer that read, "Affordable lawn care, hardworking, reliable." He had bought a rusty second-hand mower for $50 from a garage sale, all his birthday money. Every morning, he'd start at sunrise, trimming lawns for people who couldn't do it themselves. Among them was Mr. Patterson, an 86-year-old man who could barely walk. Jordan mowed his knee-high grass for half the price, $20. Because to Jordan, dignity meant more than dollars. But 3 houses down, Mrs. Newman saw something different. To her, the same scene looked like a threat. A young black boy, sweating in the sun, became a possible criminal through the lens of her fear. So she picked up her phone, and within minutes, 2 police cruisers were rolling into Oakwood Drive. Jordan didn't even hear the sirens. His earbuds drowned them out. By the time he noticed, 2 uniformed officers were already walking toward him. One asked for ID. The other questioned why he was there. Jordan explained politely. He pointed at his mower, his trimmer, and the half-cut lawn. He even showed text messages confirming the job. Still, his hands shook. Because when you're 15 and black and 2 armed officers stand over you, the air feels thinner. Mrs. Lawrence, the homeowner, came out moments later, confused. "Yes, I hired him," she told the officers firmly. "He's a good kid." She looked at Jordan and immediately understood. What had just happened wasn't about trespassing, it was about color. The police left, but the damage stayed. Jordan tried to keep working, but his hands wouldn't stop trembling. Mrs. Lawrence brought him water, told him to rest, and fought back tears of anger. By nightfall, the neighborhood was buzzing. Jordan's customers talked. Patterns emerged. This wasn't Mrs. Newman's first suspicious person call. 6 months ago, she'd reported a parked car. It belonged to a visiting black family. 4 months ago, she'd called about loitering teens, just kids waiting for the school bus. Now people started to see the truth. This was a habit, not a mistake. Among Jordan's customers was Rebecca Stone, a local journalist. She asked Jordan's mom if she could share his story online. His mother hesitated, worried about drawing attention, but finally said yes, because silence had never changed anything. Rebecca wrote the post that night. By sunrise, it had gone viral, 6,000 shares. By noon, 20,000. By evening, national news outlets were calling. And suddenly, a quiet boy with a lawnmower became the center of America's attention. News vans crowded Oakwood Drive. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Mrs. Newman closed her curtains, pretending the world outside didn't exist. But it did, loudly. People were outraged. How could a teenager doing honest work become a police target? Others, however, doubled down. Online trolls flooded Jordan's inbox. "Go back where you came from. You're just playing the victim." She had every right to call 911, even though Jordan's family had lived in that same city for 3 generations. That's when he understood something deep and painful. No matter how polite you are, no matter how hard you work, some people only see your skin first. Still, Jordan didn't speak publicly. He just kept mowing. Because what else could he do? Mrs. Newman's identity soon leaked. Her name, photo, and business, a small home salon, were found online. Hundreds of 1-star reviews flooded in. She deleted her page, then issued a statement saying she felt threatened and only wanted to protect her neighborhood. It didn't help. The city released the 911 recording. People heard her voice describe a child doing yard work as suspicious. The mayor addressed it publicly. The police chief admitted the call appeared racially motivated, and that's when the community decided to act. Mr. Patterson, the elderly man Jordan helped, invited every neighbor to a meeting at his house. He walked door to door with a cane, delivering handwritten invitations. 43 people showed up. Mrs. Newman didn't. Mr. Patterson spoke softly, but every word cut deep. He reminded them that he was one of the first black homeowners on Oakwood Drive back in 1968, when someone poisoned his dog and painted a racial slur on his garage door. He said, "If we stay quiet now, we're no better than the hate we claim to reject." The room went silent. Then, Rebecca Stone stood up and proposed that the neighborhood issue a public statement, condemning racism, supporting Jordan, and affirming what kind of community they wanted to be. 38 people signed that letter that very afternoon, but some neighbors wanted more than words. Within 2 weeks, they created the Summer Work Opportunities Program, connecting local teens to paid jobs, lawn care, grocery delivery, dog walking, helping the elderly, all under safe community guidelines. Jordan became the inspiration behind a movement. Jordan's mom begged him to stop working in that neighborhood. She feared what might happen next time. But Jordan refused to give up everything he had built. So they compromised. He'd keep existing clients, but take extra precautions. No earbuds, fully charged phone, location sharing on. He wasn't just cutting grass anymore. He was navigating America's double standard, working hard while proving he belonged. 3 weeks later, Mrs. Newman's salon shut down. She blamed cancel culture. She gave interviews portraying herself as the victim, a good woman ruined for protecting her neighborhood. A few believed her, most didn't. Meanwhile, people across the country sent Jordan letters of encouragement and donations. He hadn't asked for help, but strangers raised over $40,000. He used it for his sister's college books, his mom's work boots, and a small business license, turning the worst day of his young life into a beginning. As the headlines faded, Jordan began to feel the real impact, not on social media, but inside himself. He still mowed lawns every day, but now he always looked over his shoulder. If a car slowed down, his heartbeat quickened. If someone stared from a window, he felt a chill. It was a quiet kind of fear, the feeling that you're being watched just for existing. He learned to live with it, but it never really went away. Meanwhile, the community began to change. The letter signed by 38 residents was no longer just paper, it became a living promise. Every neighborhood meeting now began with a reminder of Oakwood Drive, that this street would never again stay silent in the face of injustice. Children growing up there now had Jordan as an example, a kid who didn't run away from unfairness, but stood tall right through the storm. After the incident, local businesses started reaching out to Jordan. An apartment complex hired him to maintain its grounds. A church asked him to care for its lawn. He hired 2 friends, taught them to work carefully, and split the money fairly. Jordan wasn't just mowing grass anymore. He was building something honest, something many adults failed to do. When donations exceeded $40,000, his mother cried. It was more money than she made in a year. Jordan sat down and made a plan. A portion for his sister's college textbooks. Another to buy his mom new work boots. Her old pair had holes. The rest he saved to start a real business. He registered his own small enterprise, organized his client list, and created a scheduling system on his phone. At 15, he already had the mindset of an entrepreneur. Because of Jordan's case, the local police department was forced to look inward. They began holding implicit bias training, a term new to many, but vital. 911 dispatchers were taught to ask follow-up questions like, has the person made any actual threats? Do you have any evidence of a crime taking place? These seemed like small steps, but for people like Jordan, they were an invisible line of protection, the difference between life and tragedy. Civil rights organizations called it a beginning. Not enough, they said, but at least a seed. Because America doesn't change overnight. It changes through 1,000 small choices that add up over time. By August, Mrs. Newman moved out of the city. She told reporters she had been forced out, that she was a victim of cancel culture. But her neighbors whispered that she left because she couldn't face her own reflection anymore. Perhaps both were true. Guilt often lives alongside denial. 3 weeks later, Mr. Patterson, the elderly man who first trusted Jordan, passed away peacefully. At the funeral, Jordan wore a suit he'd bought with his own earnings. He didn't speak. He just bowed his head and placed his hand on the casket, silently saying thank you. Mr. Patterson's daughter approached him and said, "My father was proud of you." He said you didn't just cut grass, you cut through people's prejudice, Jordan cried. For the first time since the day the police pulled up to that lawn. That fall, Jordan continued working, though only on weekends. He hired a friend to help during the week. A local newspaper wrote a follow-up piece titled, "The Boy Who Kept Mowing." When asked if he regretted anything, Jordan replied, "I don't regret a thing. Doing what's right won't protect you from hate, but that doesn't mean you should stop doing what's right." That quote spread everywhere. A TV network used his words in a community campaign. Do the right thing anyway. Simple words, but in a divided nation, they struck a nerve. The summer work opportunities program the neighborhood started kept growing. In its first year, it connected 47 teenagers with local residents who needed help. The next year, it doubled and spread to nearby towns. The story of Jordan Wright, the boy from Oakwood Drive, became classroom material in local schools. Teachers used it to talk about race, fairness, and responsibility. Those conversations weren't easy, but they were necessary. People began asking, why can something so ordinary be seen as a threat just because of skin color? It wasn't an easy question, but at least it made people look inward. A year later, Jordan was invited to speak at his school assembly. He didn't want to, but his teacher insisted. And so, standing before 300 students, he told his story. He spoke about hard work, about fear, about being treated like a criminal for doing good. He said, "Fairness doesn't just happen. You have to fight for it. Doing what's right isn't always easy, but if you give up, the wrong side wins." The entire room stood and applauded. He blushed but smiled, proud, not for fame, but because he had turned pain into purpose. Afterward, his story was used in workplace diversity training and community education programs. Companies played his speech as a reminder that bias destroys opportunities, but resilience can rebuild communities. A hardware store that once gifted Jordan his new mower invited him to do a photo shoot for their website. The picture was simple. A tall, skinny teenager standing beside a shiny red mower, eyes steady and full of resolve. No big smile, no posing, just truth. That image later appeared in a national campaign about supporting young entrepreneurs. Jordan earned $500 for the photo rights. He put it straight into savings. His business grew. He launched his brand, Right Cuts Lawn Care. His sister designed the logo for free, and a customer built his website at no charge. By the next summer, at 16, he had 5 employees, 63 regular clients, and a small used truck for his tools. He was no longer the boy who had the cops called on him. He was a respected young entrepreneur. Despite his success, Jordan never forgot that day. When someone stared too long, his pulse still raced. When a police car drove by, his chest tightened. Those memories didn't leave. They simply sank deeper, like scars that no longer bleed but still ache. He told a reporter once, "There are things you forgive, but never forget. I don't need her apology. I just hope no other kid has to go through what I did." That line made people cry. 3 years later, Jordan graduated high school. His classmates chose him to give the commencement speech. He spoke about perseverance, about turning pain into strength. Work hard, treat people right, and don't let hate stop you. The entire auditorium stood and cheered. His mother sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face, watching the son who once saw her counting pennies now move an entire city with his courage. The neighborhood threw him a graduation party. Mr. Patterson's daughter came, Rebecca Stone came, Mrs. Lawrence came. Over 40 people gathered with gifts and cards. Jordan gave a short thank you speech, humble and calm, just like the boy who first knocked on their doors, offering to mow their lawns. "I never wanted fame," he said. "I just wanted to work. But if my story wakes people up, then it was all worth it. Life never ties up neatly like a movie." There was no full justice, no magic redemption. But Jordan learned something most people take a lifetime to understand. You can't control hate, but you can control your response. You can choose to keep walking. You can let pain make you stronger instead of bitter. You can choose to mow the next lawn. Jordan Wright didn't change all of America, but he changed a small corner of it. From one biased 911 call, a community woke up. A new generation learned that real strength comes from kindness and persistence. Sometimes to change the world, you don't need speeches or money. You just need a lawnmower and an unshakable heart. If this story moved you, share it. Because every time it's retold, another piece of prejudice gets cut away. Just like Jordan, who kept mowing, kept believing and kept proving that doing good is always worth it, no matter how hard it gets.